Welcome to another episode of Paul's Asian Adventure. Today we're talking about live-in girlfriend versus girlfriend, the advantages and disadvantage. Wait till the end for some gold nuggets. So today I've got Gio from Gio in the Philippines with me. I think everybody knows him, and check out his channel. But we wanted to talk about girlfriend versus live-in girlfriend. I've had some experience, some good, some bad. I think Gio is the same. He's had some good, some bad. And we're going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages which it pertains to being in the Philippines, as there are certain social pressures here that are not in the West. So I'll start with you, Gio. What do you have to say about this subject?
You know what's funny is that things really move faster here, and I think it's because there's just every reason to move in with you as quickly as possible versus the West, where they may have a nicer apartment than you, or you know what I mean? Yeah. Or and it's not such a big deal to try to. They have a TV, they've got internet, you know what I mean? Yeah. But here, if you are a Western guy, typically it means elevating their lifestyle quite a bit. So they seem to want to move things forward much faster and kind of lock you down, I guess. And also, I think it's partly to keep an eye on you, right? You know, to
ensure that their investment is not taken away from them. And I think that's a way a lot of girls here look at it. You're kind of their investment, right?
Sure.
They don't want to lose their stock portfolio.
Right. And I suppose that for a lot of Western guys that are kind of new here, for them, they see a really beautiful girl and maybe they start dating, and they also feel the same. But I don't think they totally quite understand yet, maybe the Philippines, that they realize that the dating is just abundant here. They can date pretty easily and often, and so they also are like, oh, okay, sure. I've fell to that also myself.
I think they don't, like when you first come here, you don't understand, unless you've watched a lot of videos, but even if you watch a lot of videos, you don't quite understand the social construct here and all the things that are pushing people to do certain things, You don't quite understand it, and you don't quite understand the pitfalls that involves that. You're like, oh, this hot 27-year-old wants to move in with me? Hell yeah,
Right.
Because that wouldn't happen in the US more than probably if you're 55 years old, right?
Yeah.
And so you just look at the advantages and you don't understand the disadvantages that come with that and the disadvantages that might come in the future. So maybe you can talk a bit about some of the advantages and the disadvantages of having a live-in partner, and what the disadvantages are and what it can entail. I know you've had some stories to tell about that. I think you've told them before, but you can retell them.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like it's all horrible, because it's not. Like you said, there's a lot of advantages, because typically Filipinos are very nurturing and caring, and they want to cook for you, and they're usually very good about keeping the place clean. And again, it's not about having a maid or a housekeeper, but it's just kind of in their nature. That's how they grow up, and they like to take care of the house. And so having somebody cook for you and keep the place clean, and they're very clingy, which at the beginning of a relationship is fantastic, right? When you're in the honeymoon phase and the girl is all over you.
Yes.
It's, in fact, you're like, wow, I can't believe this gorgeous 28-year-old is all over me, hugging me while we're watching a movie, and all night hugging me. And again, during the honeymoon part, it's fantastic, right?
Yes.
And so I suppose that is an advantage, and for some people it might be fantastic all the way through. Others, like myself, I need a bit of space. I also need time to hang out with my buddies once in a while, and in alone time, and I work, so I need time to be able to break away and have time to gather my thoughts and do work. So that kind of leads into disadvantages, I suppose.
Well, other advantages I'd like to put on further onto that is like companionship.
Yes. Yeah.
to me is now it depends on the girl. Some girls here, for you, I haven't been here. Some girls here just don't talk. Their English is bad, or they just have nothing to say. I don't know, but there's really no communication. And I've actually seen many relationships where people go out to dinner and the girl says absolutely nothing, the guy says absolutely nothing, and they're eating. I'm like, what's going on here?
Or they're on their cell phones, right?
They're on their cell phones because there's no communication. But I'm not talking about that type of relation. I mean, if it's a good relationship like me and Mia have, and you're communicating, you're laughing, you're watching movies together, talking about the movies, it's fun, it's fun to have that person in your life. So I'd say the companionship is definitely a plus.
Yeah, for sure.
And you were talking about making food, cleaning and all that. I'd just like to add that, yes, that's really nice, but that's a way. Filipinos don't just do it just because they're brought up that way, but they do it also, in my opinion, a lot of them do it because they want to show you they love you. That's their way of kind of paying you back. It's like they're not contributing financially to the household maybe, but they want to find a way of contributing, and they want to say, okay, I might not be paying rent, but I'm going to clean the house, I'm going to cook for you, I'm going to clean the clothes. And I mean, I know Mia, she didn't even want me to take the clothes to the cleaners because she wanted to clean them by the hand, and I said no, we're not gonna spend hours. You're not gonna spend hours cleaning by hand when it cost me 200 pesos or $4 to go to the cleaners. So there's that. So that's kind of what I wanted to add. But of course there are disadvantages, and one of them that you mentioned is the alone time. And for me, I have found that the way to resolve that for me, and everybody's different, for me is to take trips outside of the house just with the guys. So that's how I resolve that. So, but maybe you want to talk about some other disadvantages when.
Well, let's talk about a couple more advantages too. It's just let's be honest. It's nice to come home to somebody and have the companionship. It really is. I do miss that sometimes. And because the funny thing is, when you're in a relationship, you sometimes wish, geez, I would love to have some alone time, or I wish I was dating. And then when you're in a relationship, and then sometimes, when you're not in a relationship, you're sometimes, I wish I had some companionship. And
you always want what you don't have.
That's right. You always want what you don't have. I don't know if there's a happy medium or not, but another advantage is just it's enjoyable to take a trip somewhere and visit a waterfall or go to the beach and have somebody to do that stuff with.
Share your experiences.
Right, exactly. Or go out to eat, because if you're by yourself, it's not that enjoyable to go eat by yourself. It's enjoyable at home eating alone in front of the TV. That's okay. But at a restaurant, it's a bit.
Everybody's watching you. Look at that guy all alone. He's a loser.
What a loser. No girlfriend, no.
Loser, welcome to Loserville.
Not going to be in the Philippines and eating alone. So there's a lot of advantages. There really are. If you find a good one, and I think what you talked about, the very quiet girls, I really think it boils down to the English skills. They're just not confident.
Sometimes. I think sometimes
there
also,
could be some exceptions, but
I think sometimes also it's the lack of, this might sound derogatory, but on average I found the Filipinas I've met know very little about worldly stuff. So, and again, some of the Filipinos like to be on TikTok, Facebook, and they're not really into learning anything new, so there's really nothing to talk about. What are you going to talk about? The only thing you can talk about really is shared experiences, and in the beginning there's not that much shared experiences, right? So that's what I really like about Mia, because she likes to read, she likes to learn about the world, she likes to even see what history. She asked me about, I know you love Roman history, she asked me about Roman history. She loves to watch Vikings, and so there's stuff I can talk to her about. Well, I've been with other girls that it's just like, is anybody home? It's like, right. Can you get off Facebook for a minute so we can talk? So it's like you say, it really depends on the girl. But I'm talking about if you're moving a girl in, I expect she's a quality girl. You don't want to just move a girl in because she's hot, you know. I mean,
well, that's the mistake that some of us make, though, at the beginning, right?
Yes,
because
that's true.
you get here and maybe you've never been here, and you meet just a young, beautiful girl,
yeah,
and you know, you're not fully thinking it out yet, and you move her in, and then 3 months time or something, you're like, ugh, we really, you know, other than that she's gorgeous and loves to laugh, there's not a lot of common
denominators.
Yeah, there's not a lot of things we have in common.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I made that mistake myself. So
yeah, I think everybody makes mistakes when they come here, and I think the viewers of both your and my channel probably make less mistakes. I don't mean to boast, but we've told people what the mistakes are and what to watch out for, and if people try to follow some of that, I think they will avoid the pitfalls that both me and you have had, which seems similar in many ways. But so let's go into the disadvantages. What are some of the disadvantages of having a live-in person here, and why are there the disadvantages compared to the West? I mean, what do you see?
Well, and I base this on Filipina's upbringing.
Yeah.
But I think they're over clingy. They're just so attached to you, and I think there's not a lot of room for breathing. Sometimes they could be happy being with you 24/7. Sometimes.
Not could be. They are happy to be with you 24/7.
Well, I don't want to say all of them.
On average.
Right.
On average.
Especially if they're not working. That's the key.
Yeah.
Obviously, if they're working, they can't be with you 24/7, and it creates where you're excited to see her, you know what I mean? You haven't seen her all day, and she's at work. You can't wait to have dinner and have a movie and, you know, just do something. And that's been a common problem for me, as I've chose the best relationships I've had, honestly, are girls that have been working, where there's been some separation.
Yeah.
And I would say that's probably in the West, too, if you're with somebody 24/7. The only difference is they're more clingy here. And here's the reason why I think, then I'll let you talk, but the reason why I think that happens is they're used to a big family. They're in a very small house. They're very typical. They're sharing one room. They're right on top of each other with neighbors, and they're used to the doors open. There's no privacy like our houses are closed up. You don't just walk into your neighbor's house.
Yeah.
Here, it's very common that they just walk over to their neighbor and hang out and do karaoke and
I don't know if you've noticed this, but like you'll notice like Filipino guys who are best friends. I mean, they're not gay, but they'll hold hands and they'll put their hand over the shoulder. And if you see a guy doing like that in the US or in Europe, you think they're gay straight away.
Right.
But here it's not like that. It's that they're much more, what's the word, like physical in their way of showing love to each other, you know, like. So they're much more clingy. Even the guys are like that. So it's just like, you know, you gotta. That's just part of the culture here, I think. And it's like you say, you know, you go into an average Filipino family, and it's like 10 people in, 20 square meters. You know,
right.
And it's just.
They're just used to it. They're used
to it, and you wonder like, how can they live like that? You know, if it was me, I'd be like, I'd be losing my temper all the time. But they're laughing, having fun because they're grown up like that.
Right,
and
they're used to it.
And then when they come with us, they become the same because we're only, me and a girl or you and a girl in a 50 square meter apartment, and it's like I think they feel a bit lonely, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Mia has told me before she feels lonely just being at the house. Me, I don't feel lonely. I can sit there and be alone, watch TV, read a book, work. I don't feel lonely.
Yeah.
But she feels lonely if she's alone.
In fact, when you talk to girls here, and if they'll ask you, or who do you live with, and I'll say alone, and they'll say, oh, you must be boring. I'm like, no, not really.
Not really.
Or they'll say, aren't you lonely? Or oh, how sad. And I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
No, not really. It's
nice.
It's nice. But yeah, that's. And again, no fault of Filipinas. It's just how they're raised. Yeah,
it's just a different culture.
It's just different culture.
Different value systems.
They get on a jeepney and they're all packed in like sardines, and they have no problem. And it's like me, I'm like,
like don't touch me.
Like, get off me! You're touching my leg, But for them, no problem. They're just all on top of each other.
Yeah. Any other disadvantages you can think of when living together?
Well, they do have a jealous and a possessive side, and so when you do need to get away, even if you went to go meet your buddy at the coffee shop, that jealousy can come out. It's like, well, why aren't you going to the coffee shop with me? Why do you? Yeah. They don't quite understand the alone time sometimes.
Yeah.
And you try to explain that listen, it's not that I don't love you or anything. It's just I do need some time alone, and it's hard to get them to kind of understand that because they're opposite of how they grew up.
Yeah.
And so. Often they want a picture. Hey, they want to call you. Hey, what are you doing? It's like, I'm at the coffee shop, but they want to call and they
check. Check.
They say they miss you.
Yeah.
They often will say I miss you.
I just want to see you.
Just want to see you. No, you want to make sure.
I miss you so much. I just want to see you.
You want to make sure I'm actually at the coffee shop.
And no other girls.
Right.
Yeah, there's some other disadvantages that. It depends on how you look at it, but it can be perceived as a disadvantage is the financial. It's actually much more expensive to have a living girlfriend than to have just a girlfriend, because if you have a living girlfriend, then it's expected.
Yeah.
Doctor's visits, you're paying for them. Yeah. Dentist, you're paying for it. Major stuff happening in the family, you're paying for it. Mm-hmm. If she's not your living girlfriend, it's just not expected that you do that. Mm-hmm. So that's a financial. Some people might not look at it as a disadvantage. Some people say, well, I want to help her. I want to help her family. So I'm just saying that can be perceived as a disadvantage for some people.
Right. And others, you get the knight in shining armor. And you're like, I'll be honest. First time I took my ex to the dentist, she had never been to the dentist, never had her teeth cleaned.
Probably had like 10 fillings she had to do, right?
Yeah, like 8 fillings. And it wasn't that expensive. It was $140, $150.
Yeah.
And did I feel horrible? No, I actually felt good. I was like, I got her teeth clean, got her problems fixed. But it is more expensive, right?
Yeah. But it's not only that, but it can be doctors, it can be medical, and
eyeglasses, and
it starts adding up.
Yeah,
And if you're on a limited budget, let's say let's say your budget is maybe $1,200. Mm-hmm. That starts cutting into it because you're pretty close to what you can manage every month. But if you've got a $3,000 budget a month, not a problem.
Right.
So that's why I said it can be perceived that way by some, but not by everybody.
No different than the West. It's going to cost you more to have a living girlfriend. However, in the West, she's more likely working and contributing.
Yeah, exactly.
Here, probably not contributing. Even if she's working, she really doesn't have the money to contribute.
Yeah, well, I've had living girlfriends before in the West, and I never paid for anything. And if she had asked me, I'd like, you have your own job, you pay for it. I wasn't.
Groceries, food, dinners?
We shared it, like 50-50.
Yeah,
it wasn't me paying everything and she just living. I'm not going to,
of course.
No, forget that.
Yeah.
BS.
Yeah, but here that's not, because if the girl, even if she's got a higher end paying job of, let's say, $400, 20,000 pesos a month.
Yeah, still no, you can't. No,
you can't. If you're making 1,500 and she's making 400,
unless she's a doctor or a lawyer or something. No,
right.
They're barely making money. Let them send it to their family.
Right. Exactly.
So anything else you'd like to add? We're getting close to 20 minutes now. So.
Again, really, everybody's got to make their own decision on. But I think people just need to be aware that they're very clingy, possessive, which for some people can be a great thing. I actually enjoy it somewhat, but I still want them to be working, and I think that's the key for me, and I think for a lot of expats. I know some expats are retired and they come out here and they're like, I want her to have time so we can travel.
Everybody's different, but as long as you know these pitfalls and you say, well, that's not a pitfall for me, that's something I want. As long as you know that, you're going into open-eyed.
Exactly. What's a disadvantage for me might be an advantage for somebody else. So everybody's different, but you should at least be aware of some of it.
Yeah.
Slow, but we always come back to that. We should just move slow. Don't move them in immediately. You wouldn't do that in the West. Don't do it. It's no different here. Slow it down.
I think most of these pitfalls can be avoided by taking at least a year before moving her in.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that, because sometimes red flags come up and that's a good point here. Watch Gio in the Philippines. He's got a video on red flags. That's a good video to watch. And so you have to watch for that. You have to take it slow, and then see if she's the type of girl you want to move in with, you know, if your chemistry is compatible. Because if you move her in too quickly because she's hot and you like to be with her and all that, that can lead to some bad things. I know you have a story to tell about the girl that wouldn't move out. Maybe you can tell that as a finishing part to this video.
I've mentioned it before, and this is where condo comes in, but she and I'm not going to get into the reason why we decided to part ways, but let's just say when it came time for her, I said, you need to move out. She flung herself on the floor, hugging the bedpost, refusing to leave. I actually had to call security. And the funny thing is like, I ran into her at the mall or something like a year later, and we actually both laughed about it. So it had
but at the time it was kind of awkward.
It was a little stressful and awkward, but a year later we laughed about it, so it was actually kind of funny.
Well, with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video and you have some use for this type of information. And if you would, please subscribe, as that really helps my channel grow, and share, especially sharing on social media really helps. Comment and like. So see you on the next one. Thanks. Bye bye.